Welcome, guys. So, today's video, I'm going to be talking about meditation and why it's so important. So, just to intro, we're going to talk about what presence is. So, presence and mindfulness is it's the goal of meditation. So, if you are practicing meditation, you are looking to achieve a state of presence, state of mindfulness. So, what is presence and mindfulness? It's simply not being in thought, but being in the moment. So you are not lost in thought. You're not lost in thinking, in predicting the next moment, in ruminating on the last, but you are just here and now. This is a state that is hard to describe simply because the mind can't imagine it, because for the mind to be imagining it, it's out of presence. So the best way to experience this and the fastest way to experience this is to simply realize whatever thought you're having right now. So whatever thought is going on in your mind right now as I'm talking, because for most people there's going to be a thought that comes up because not a lot of people are actually fully present. For me, for example, I'm having very few thoughts other than thoughts that direct the video, and that's pretty much it. Other than that, I'm fully present and I'm fully here. Now, most people watching this video probably wouldn't be. So whatever thought you're having, and if you're not having a thought, you can still do this just fine. But just kind of observe the thought, kind of step outside of your mind, and observe the thought and look at the thought. And what this should do, if you do it right, is it'll separate you from your thought. And so by separating you from your thought, you'll get into being, and being is just your natural state of presence. So if you do this exercise really quick, you should notice very quickly you will feel a slight change in energy. Things feel very, very hectic, very like fast moving, very disorientating in the mind. So when you're always in the mind, you tend to be very disoriented throughout the day. You tend to feel very stressed and high anxiety. And when you enter presence, all of this should typically kind of fall away, and you kind of just become here. And obviously, for someone who's never experienced presence before, it's going to take some time for this to be a lasting experience. For someone who just practiced this exercise, as I said it, for the first time ever, you might be in presence for a split second, half a second, 3 seconds, let's say. So it might have been too fast for you to notice. You might have noticed and then immediately went back into thought when you noticed. Or you could have stayed in presence since I said it. And if you are currently still in presence, maintain that, because that'll help you take in the video more. Because one thing that's nice about presence, when you're able to move your awareness into the body and out of the mind, the mind actually has time to fully process the information that's being taken in. And your awareness and your consciousness is focused on the video itself, and so you're taking in more information from the video, which is nice. So next, I'm just going to talk about some different meditations. So the most basic meditation, and the one that I'm going to explain how to do in a minute, is basic observation meditation. So all you're doing is sitting down and you're observing. Typically people do the breath, but it can be anything within the body. I like to, after school, for example, I like to tune into whatever energies are coming up in my body, because I usually have a very heavy energy over me after school. I feel very drained. So I like to just tune into the energy in my body, and then that helps me kind of work through any energetic blockages that I picked up during the day. So observation meditation would be sitting and simply focusing your awareness on the breath while you breathe, and every inhale, every exhale. Then you can do what I just said, which is feeling into the body. So you can Feel I like to feel into different energies in the body. You can feel into different chakras in the body. You can feel into and tune into your mind, what's going on in the mind. Those are all great. Walking is an example of meditation if you're doing it without music, and if you're doing it mindfully. So you have to actually be aware, be present, be in the moment while you're walking, but walking through nature is a great one. So the next one, another one could be visualization. So visualization's great. You can, I like to tune into the third eye first, just because when you tune into the energy of the third eye, manifestation happens quicker. So fucking my lighting. All right. So when you tune into the third eye, your manifestations can happen a lot quicker, just because you are more directly pulling the energy of that reality into your body and your mind. Whereas for most people who just imagine whatever they're visualizing and just use their imagination, it's harder to pull the energy in, just because they haven't really they haven't bridged that gap of making their imagination spirit, or their imagination physical. So when you tune into the third eye, it essentially crystallizes any imagination that you're having and any visualization that you have, and it makes it come into reality faster that way. But yeah, so visualization's great. Just like sit down, kind of become present, and then just focus on what I like to do is actually, so I tune into my third eye so I can feel the energy of it, and then once I feel the energy of it, I kind of just expand my awareness into my imagination, and then while I'm in there, I imagine myself in the third person, so I am actually watching myself in the third person, and I just imagine watching myself from the third person perspective, living my ideal reality. So 3 weeks ago, I think it was, I started visualizing myself running a successful YouTube channel, making money from YouTube, and just learning a lot and teaching what I'm learning. And then here I am doing it a couple weeks later. I visualized some tricks I wanted to learn on my snowboard. Boom, I landed them the next week. So the next one would be breath work. So breath work, I think should be its own video and in its own section. But I wanted to put breath work in here because it does work. It can be a form of meditation if you want it to be. But I mean, breath work, just look up like Wim Hof. Pranayama is another good type of breath work. So pranayama is its own subgroup. So pranayama will have multiple practices within it that you can pick and choose from. But if you just look up pranayama or breath work, Wim Hof is great for breath work. And yeah, I mean, I don't have a whole lot to say about breath work. I practice pranayama personally, but I mean, it can be a type of meditation, but I think it deserves its own video. So another interesting aspect of meditation is the introduction of mantras and mudras. So mudras are hand signs or body positions that create certain reactions in the brain. So for example, I'm sure you've seen this one. Just the thumbs together, the pointer fingers together, and the rest of your fingers crossed. That one is typically known as the Enlightenment Mudra, or I believe it's pronounced the Uttahara Bodhi Mudra, but it basically connects the left and right hemispheres of the brain, and it creates a very clear flow between the higher mind and the lower mind, and so you're very easily able to interpret and understand information between the higher and lower minds. It can bring you present. And if you have something you want an answer to and you just sit with that mudra, typically you'll have an answer come through to you pretty quickly. And when you're energetically attuned, you can feel the electrical circuits moving through the body, and you can feel the change in energy and the change in your brain circuits. So the way that your neurons communicate with each other becomes instantly faster. And I because I'm so energetically attuned, I can actually feel the increase in communication between the neurons. It's interesting. So mudras, basically, they work because the fingers are electrical circuits. So the fingers have electrical currents moving through them, and when you touch certain fingertips together, certain currents connect, creating different things in the body. Another example, so that one connects the brain circuits, but so this one right here, so the thumbs together, these right here, and the pinkies together, that mudra, if you hold it really quick, so do it really quick and take a deep breath, your breathing becomes a lot clearer. So your airways actually open up when you do that mudra. And you can tuck the thumb in under the three middle fingers. And that's supposed to be a more advanced version of the same mudra. So it basically just opens your airways a little bit more. But so that one opens up your airways, right? And then the other one I showed you, it helps with the communication between the two hemispheres of the brain and the higher and lower minds. But typically in meditation, you see people sat cross-legged with their hands out like this. This is a mudra in and of itself, but so is the body position. So is that seated cross-legged position with the hand sign. That's one whole mudra, and I forgot the actual name of it, but that by itself is one whole mudra. So the other part of this is mantras. So there's mudras, which is the body positions and the hand signs, and then there is mantras. So mantras are basically sounds that correlate with certain aspects of either our bodies or the environment around us, the universe. So like a very common one that everyone would know is Om. So like that noise, that's supposed to be the resonance of the universe. So that's supposed to be the noise and the resonance of our physical experience and our physical reality. And so that is essentially like the foundational mantra for any spiritual practice. I don't know a whole lot on mantras, so I can't really go deep into mantras, but I know they're great. I use some for certain breath works. So like if you do guided breath work, sometimes they'll have you exhale making a noise. So exhaling with like an ah, that would be a type of mantra. And so if everything is sound, so our bodies are sound, everything around us is sound, our physical space is sound, basically all we're doing is creating sounds, creating healing frequencies with our own voice while in meditation. So that's the best way I could explain mantras. So the most important part of meditation would probably be breath. So the breath. Breath or life force is the nervous energy in our body. So when we inhale, we're taking in oxygen for our physical vessel, but we're also taking in electrical and nervous energy. So we're taking in, when we breathe, the energy that our nervous system is using to move and to move our physical bodies. So through controlling the breath, or prana, we essentially learn to control the entire human vessel, the entire system, just by controlling this one aspect of it. Simply because the breath is the animating force behind the physical vessel. So by learning to control and learning to become aware of the breath, we learn to control the entire human vessel, which is a very beneficial skill to have, I'd say. So now I'm going to quickly get into how to do meditation. So I'm going to teach you the beginner practice, the beginner meditation. And if you are at a point where you're looking for more advanced practices, I'll be making plenty of future videos on it, and I'm sure you can go and find other videos on practices. But I'm going to quickly go over the basic beginner practice in this video. So all you're going to do is sit down, lay down. You can sit in a chair, you can sit on the floor, crisscross. I don't like to lay down personally because I tend to fall asleep, and when you're laying down, your brain becomes just a little bit more asleep, and it just becomes a little bit more relaxed, which isn't always bad, but specifically with meditation, you want to be upright so that you're alert and that you're still able to be fully present in the body. So you can sit upright in a chair. I like to sit on the floor in that crisscrossed mudra. God, I gotta remember the name of that because there's a specific name for it. But yeah, so you can sit however you want. I like to start by taking 3 deep inhales, deep breaths, and then you kind of just relax your focus, relax your body, relax your mind, and just become aware and present. Just become like aware of your body and how it feels, aware of your environment, any sounds you might be picking up on. Your eyes are going to be closed, so you're not going to be looking at things, but any sounds or smells. And if you're energetically tuned, I like to tune in into the energy of the room around me, and that'll help me tune into the energy of the 0 point field when you have access to that. That's later down the line in practicing meditation, but at a certain point you'll be able to access the quantum field, which is basically a field of energy and information that we kind of pull from, and we access it, and by accessing it we crystallize it into the physical universe and into a physical experience that we have. And so it's hard to explain and understand without experience of it, but it's essentially the field of energy and information that we pull from in order to create physical existence, or not create but experience specific aspects of existence. So like I said, tune into the energy around you, tune into the energy in your body, tune into your body itself, and just become present. Once you're present, correct myself. Allow your body to take breaths. You shouldn't have to consciously force anything. You just let your body breathe for itself, and all you do is simply observe that. Observe that process happening. Observe the body breathing, and just keep your focus and your awareness on that, on the breath. Then, as the mind starts to take over, as it does, simply become aware of that. So become present and aware of this thought that's now coming up. And by doing that, you essentially cancel out or block the thought from taking over. And now you're at a standstill where you actually have a decision to make. You can either bring your awareness back to the breath, or you can now start thinking about this thought, and you can be pulled by this thought. So now you choose, I'm just going to focus back on the breath. And by doing that, you dissolve the thought, and that just moves on. And then the next thought comes up into the mind, and you do the same thing. And you do that for 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, however long you can, right? It doesn't actually matter how long you do it for, as long as you're practicing consistently and over time working your way up. So one thing that's nice to add once you've started to get used to meditation is actually sound frequencies. So I don't personally use mantras, but I do use sound frequencies. So I when I do my meditations after school, because I'm out of tune, because I've been at school all day, been busy, had a bunch of people around me, bunch of energy coming in. So I listen to the 9 solfeggio frequencies in order to just retune my body and mind. And that's what the meditation is for, is to kind of work through the energy that builds up throughout the day. And so the solfeggio frequencies, the 9 solfeggio frequencies, I don't want to go too into it because there's a lot that I could say about them. They're basically just the 9 original the frequencies for the original music scale. So the original music scale was actually based on the tuning of the frequency of our bodies and the different chakra systems within our body, as well as the earth and the universe, and like our actual natural environment and the frequencies within our natural environment. And instead, I can't exactly remember when, but more recently, within the last 100 years or so, the music scale was actually changed from the solfeggio, the original 9 solfeggio frequencies, to A440 hertz, which is actually a detrimental frequency to the human vessel. And so we're listening to this frequency on a daily basis, and that's over time very slowly. Hard to notice because it's very slow, a very slow process, but it is over time destroying our psyche and our energy body and our internal bodies, and that'll over time start to break down our external bodies. But that is a main reason, not the reason, but a big one, why so many people are spiritually out of tune, is because their bodies are literally out of tune. So they're literally vibrating at a frequency that keeps them from accessing the spiritual. But these 9 solfeggio frequencies, however, resonate and are that frequency of our original, of the way our vessel was originally created to vibrate. So everything is sound, meaning a human being in its divine state has a specific frequency, and a human being in a state of self-destruction is going to have its own frequency. And you can think of it like this: the solfeggio frequencies resonate with that divine human being, and the A440 hertz resonates with that lower self, that self-destructive human. So with sound frequencies, because everything is sound, we can listen to different frequencies that bring us to different vibrations and that give us the ability to access different states of consciousness. And so solfeggio frequencies are specifically a healing frequency, and they can help to heal the body, heal the mind, and bring us back to our original state, which that's all that healing is. Dis-ease is being out of tune and out of alignment. Healing is simply bringing us back to alignment, bringing us back to being in tune with ourselves. So that's all I got to say about that. You can look into sound frequencies if you'd like to add them to your own routine. I highly suggest them. They're great for meditation, and personally, every time I use them, I can go much, much deeper into meditation and much quicker, and I can typically sit there for longer. So I very, very quickly get antsy and ready to get up and do something when I'm meditating normally, but when I put on the sound frequency, it's just easier for me to calm myself back into that relaxed state and just kind of continue the meditation. So I'm going to talk about a couple slightly more advanced practices. So once you have practiced meditation for a good amount of time, you can actually start to do some of these practices And I mean, these aren't anything too crazy or complicated, but you're not going to be able to really get much out of these practices if you haven't practiced meditation long enough to gain some presence and become semi-conscious at least. So the first one is tuning into the energy body. So what I was saying before about tuning into energy around you, energy in the physical space, the energy body, so you think of your physical body being essentially your VR headset for reality. The energy body is, well, this is where it does get complicated. So the energy body is the body within your body that contains all of your energy, so that all of your emotions, all of your ambitions, all of your desires, all of your love, your hate, your so any emotions, any energies within your body, and your psyche, all of it's coming from your energy body. So in meditation, what we can do is we can tune into the energy body and actually change certain energetic frequencies and signatures in that body. And so by doing that, we would be able to change certain realities in our physical experience, because we're able to directly tune into the energy creating certain experiences we don't want. So tuning into the energy body is great. And what I was saying earlier, so I confused myself a bit. I was going to say that, so you can think of your physical body as your antenna to the physical experience, or your VR headset for experiencing physical reality. And you can think of your etheric body as your vessel for experiencing the quantum field, like I was explaining to you earlier. Anyways, the next thing you could do is the third eye, so tuning into the third eye and using that for manifestation. So what I like to do is at night, every night, I explained my visualization practice. So every night I sit down, take some deep breaths, and then I tune into my third eye until I feel the energy of it, and it starts to permeate a certain energy that I can feel, and it's resonating, not resonating, but pulsating out of my head. And when I feel that energy, I go into the imagination. Like it's more of a state than actually imagining it, because I'm trying to embody the imagination, if that makes sense. So I go into the imagination essentially, and then that's why I like to use the third eye, because it's easier to just go into it than just to like think about it. You know what I mean? So I like to go into it, and then I view myself from the third person experiencing the reality I want to have. So that's a great use of the third eye, for example. That's a visualization. The third eye can also be used to create more light within the body. So if there is too much darkness, if there's too much dark negative energy, if your sexual energy is acting up, for example, and you think there's too much to control, you can use the light from your third eye or your crown. I don't know exactly which one it is, but you can use the light from these higher chakras to actually dissolve a little bit of that darkness and create balance in the body again and harmony in the body again. And if you think of it as like masculine, feminine, you have your sun and your moon, your light, your dark, your masculine, your feminine. So any negative energies or any sexual energies that are uncontrolled can be controlled and directed by the masculine, which is your mind's energy, or your third eye's light. So we can also start to talk about energy release. So if you are, let's say, you're having an issue that you cannot seem to come up with a solution for, and it's weighing on you, there's typically an energy in your body somewhere that creates this sensation of a weight being put on you. So if you can start to, through meditation, tune into that energy, and over time just tune into it more and more and become more aware of it, over time you'll be able to learn how to take that energy and actually move it through you. You'll be able to fully experience the expression of the emotion and the release of the emotion all as an internal process and not by having some emotional reaction and outburst. So that's a great one. Love. So the transmutation of energy in the body is another one. I made a whole video on this. You can go check that out. But basically just tuning into the body, tuning into certain parts of the body that may be stuck emotions or trapped energy in the body, and or tuning into a traumatic experience that you've had that you haven't quite dealt with yet, and taking that energy and transmuting it by becoming aware of it and becoming present with it and kind of just sitting with it and allowing it to come up fully. And by allowing it to fully come up and express itself, you can actually transmute it, because when it expresses itself and you are accepting of it and you aren't pushing against it and resisting it, that energy can transmute itself, and you can actually go through the process of transmuting the energy. So now I want to talk about why meditation is actually so important. So why is meditation even so important? Because plenty of people talk about meditation, but not a lot of people actually discuss why it's so important, why it's such a fundamental practice. So a lack of presence is my main reason why it's so important. That's the thing that I think is most important, is because looking around at people nowadays in our society, and I live in America, so it may be different in other places, but just looking around, I see pretty much everybody I know, very few of them are actually present. Very few of them are actually experiencing their current moment. And I was one of those people for the longest time. But very few people are actually there in their own experience. And to me, just knowing what I know, it's very sad to watch, simply because so many people are missing out on the greatest era, the greatest parts of their lives, simply because they're in their heads, simply because they're thinking too much, simply because they can't seem to get off their phones long enough to actually be in their own life, right? And it is very sad to watch, knowing what our planet is going through, knowing the changes that people could be experiencing if they were actually present with themselves. And yet everybody is just so focused on thinking about all of these problems that don't exist, all of these fake pleasures that they're chasing, that none of them are actually experiencing the greatest pleasure that there ever was, which is physical experience in life and being alive. Like just being here, just living, just being present is the greatest experience you could ever have. And yet, for most people, the thought of it, again, it's a thought. The thought of it is excruciating. The thought of just sitting with themselves is excruciating. It's like, seems like the equivalent of hell. Yet, it's also the solution to all of their problems. Yet, if they were to just sit with themselves long enough, they'd come to realize why they don't like to sit with themselves, and it would give them a reason to fix it. But there isn't much that can be done about it other than to simply make these videos and hope that the people who want to listen will come and listen. But the next point I have on why meditation is so important is actually focusing. So like I was saying earlier, nobody is present with themselves. Nobody's actually like here in this moment. Nobody's experiencing their experience, which means that they're either completely unfocused, which I can't say it's a guarantee because I wasn't. I spent 2 years of my life still in thought, still not present with myself, still not here in the now, but I was dead focused on one thing and one thing only, and that was to improve my life, and that was to become better in any way I could, right? That was to start a business, to make money from a business like that, and to snowboard, to become a pro snowboarder. So I had the same thoughts for 2 years, which means I was very focused on what I was thinking about, but I was still in thought, so I wasn't able to create it. That aside, most people who are in this situation that I'm talking about where they can't become present, it's actually due to a lack of focus. It's not that they don't even enjoy their experience, it's just that they can't focus on it long enough to have an experience within it. So this is partially due to social media being so fast-paced nowadays and people's brains being so addicted to that quick and instant hit of dopamine. And so increasingly, you're finding a lack of ability to focus you're finding an increase in ability to focus, you're finding a lack of ability to focus in the youth because they're watching TikTok, they are watching fucking Instagram Reels, YouTube Shorts. I got hooked on them YouTube Shorts for a while because I didn't have TikTok, I didn't have Instagram, but I was watching YouTube for the long form content. And even then, I would get sucked in and end up watching YouTube Shorts. And 10 minutes later, I'm like, oh, shit. I've just watched these 5-10 videos that I like completely irrelevant. I haven't learned anything value except from maybe the first one that got me to click on it. But I clicked on that one, watched it, and then scrolled without even thinking about it, without even knowing, just going completely unconscious. So you think people who aren't even trying to fix this, they're fucked. They have no power. They have no control over themselves and their finger going and clicking on that TikTok app when they're bored. So they have no ability to focus on things, right? And the problem with that is when you can't focus, you can never create anything. No one who can't focus can create any sort of life that they want. Nobody. There isn't a single person who isn't focused that's just creating miracles out of thin air. It doesn't happen. But there are plenty of people creating miracles out of thin air, and it's because they are directly focused on what they're creating. And that's the only thing that they're concerned or worried about, is what they're trying to create. And so it ends up happening for them, pretty much guaranteed, because they have focus. They have clear intent and clear focus on what they want, and so they're able to create it. Whereas somebody who cannot focus on what they want won't be able to consistently put out the type of content that it would take to create a successful YouTube channel. I'm using my example. But someone who isn't focused enough, like for me, for example, if I created, because I made 2 videos this weekend, and if I had just done that and then stopped right there, happy with that. That's great. That's more work than I've done in 3 years towards this business. Good. And I just stopped there. I wouldn't get anywhere. I would never see progress in my business like that. Never. No, like, it's completely unrealistic for me to expect progress when that's how quickly my focus goes back to, let me just chill now. You know what I mean? But if, all right, I've created these 2 videos. This is big for me. Let me relax so I'm not overworking and I'm not stressing myself out and I'm not doing more than I have to. But at the same time, I still want to keep going. I'm still focused. I'm still directly working to get there. Even if I'm indirectly working to get there, I'm still focused on how can I relate this back to YouTube. How can I relate this back to how can I make a video out of this? And so because I'm focused, now you're going to see I've made another video, and then I've recorded another one, and then I'm going to edit these ones, and then I'm going to record another one. And through that consistency, in 3 to 4 months, I'll have 1,000 subscribers. But that will only happen if for those 3 to 4 months, I'm focused here, you know? And so meditation is literally the training or the exercise or the workout to train your ability to focus. And so every morning I'm training my focus. So obviously it's going to be easier for me to sit here and focus on work and create some form of content and some video that I can use for YouTube and to further my business, versus someone who doesn't meditate, versus someone who isn't constantly thinking about the business. They're not going to get as close as I am. Even if they do some work, they're not going to be able to get as close as I am because I'm focused on it. Now, focus and attachment are different things. See, if you're focused on something, and this is where I went wrong, I was so attached to what I wanted to create that I was thinking about it instead of being present, right? Because I didn't want to lose touch with that feeling, that high, that vibrational high of the experience I wanted. So I wasn't able to detach from it and become present with the fact that I wasn't even fucking close to where I wanted to be. By becoming present with that, I could have gotten closer. By avoiding that presence, though, I essentially blocked myself off from being able to create the business, from being able to move forward. Even though I was focused, I was attached to the idea. And so that brought me more into thought, right? But to detach from the idea and to be able to become present with the fact that I want this, but I'm here. But staying focused on where I want to go, I can make progress because I'm detached from needing to get there, but I'm still able to focus and keep my focus on it. So focus is huge when you're trying to create any life that you want, any experience or reality you want. And so meditation should be practiced for that alone. If you can sit down for 10 minutes every day and meditate and train yourself to focus better, that alone is worth that 10 minutes, not to mention all the other benefits. But now another thing is finding yourself, who you are. I hesitated to say yourself because, the idea is that the self is actually what's keeping you from realizing who you actually are. So through meditation, what we're actually learning to do is bring our energy inwards from all of these different places. So, for example, when I'm at school all day and I'm talking to all of my friends and I'm just like vibing, doing my thing, I'm taking in energy all the time. All the time. I'm taking in energy from my friends, from the people around me. But at the same time, I'm giving my energy to the situation. I'm giving my energy to the conversations. I'm giving my energy by making jokes and trying to make other people laugh, right? Like I'm giving my energy out here. I'm putting my energy to work, right? I have work to do in school. I'm not just sat on my ass. I mean, I'm a senior. Most of what we do is fuck around and joke around in the back of the class. But I still have work to do sometimes. So I'm constantly giving out energy and I'm taking in unnecessary and unneeded energies. So in meditation, what we can learn to do is take our energy back from these situations, bring our energy back inwards. So circle it back to ourselves. You know what I mean? Bring that energy inwards, bring the energy into ourselves, right? Concentrate it cultivate it inwards, cultivate it internally, and focus on taking energy that's stuck in other places and then bringing that in and gathering that in. Through doing that, through cultivating your energy and awareness inwards, you slowly over time break down and dissolve the negative self or the negative ego. And as you break that down, you become closer and closer with your true self, who you actually are on the inside, which is simply an authentic version of you. Your ego, however, is doing everything in its power to convince you that it is you and that you are it. And so you are identifying with certain thought patterns, certain identities, certain friends, like certain people in your environment, certain ways of thinking about yourself, right? So you're attached to all of these things, and your attachment and identification with all of these things is feeding and creating more ego. But the detachment from these things and the disillusion of these things gives you the ability to tune into yourself. And when you're tuned into yourself, you're able to basically effortlessly tune into your ideal reality and the creation that you want to live. And you can instantly create anything you want and desire simply because you're fully aligned. Anyone who can't instantly manifest whatever they want isn't fully aligned with themselves. So, and this is to show that I'm not there either. I cannot just manifest whatever I want and need out of thin air because I'm not fully aligned with me, who I am at my core. I'm still stuck identifying and attached to certain parts of my physical reality. And these things are very hard and confusing sometimes. Like, for example, one of the things I needed to be able to detach from was my girlfriend, was my wife, the woman that I plan to put a ring on in the future. I still had to realize where I was identifying with our relationship and feeling a need for that relationship to feel whole and complete. And by taking that energy and then bringing that inwards again, you tend to realize where a lot of the things you want are actually already within you, and then you can bring them out of yourself into reality, and that's how you'll actually manifest things. So through meditation, you will become closer to yourself, your higher self, if you want to call it that, but it's really just your true, most authentic self, the most authentic version of you. And through this, actually, purpose typically becomes very clear. You tend to have no doubts about purpose whatsoever when you're fully aligned, because you just intuitively know what your purpose is. So another cool thing that can be done, and why I think everybody should practice meditation, is because you can change your vibration through meditation. If you were to practice meditation long enough to become familiar with presence, to the extent that you can access presence at any point in your day, now, whenever things come up, whenever you have, let's say, this happened to me yesterday. Let's say you don't quite know why, there's no real reason, but you're just triggered, you're just angry. There's just something you can't quite deal with. Just sit with it. Just become present with it. And through becoming present with it, this is kind of like the transmutation process that I was talking about, but instead you're just simply keeping your vibration at a higher rate, becoming present with the lower frequency within you. And because you're at a higher frequency, the lower frequency can't survive in your body, and so it slowly has to change itself to match the higher frequency. And so you can change your vibration simply by becoming present with the energies that come up when certain emotions come up, when certain energy comes up. So the last bullet point that I got is meditation as a fundamental practice for physical, mental, and spiritual growth. So I'm going to use a slightly less common example to explain this, just because I could very easily explain how meditation will help you with business. But what about in the gym? What about building a physique that you want? The reason meditation is a fundamental practice is because presence essentially gives you the ability to dissolve and then create any experience that you want. So for someone, like let's say someone has a hard time convincing themselves to go to the gym, because I want to use this example. Let's say someone has a hard time convincing themselves to go to the gym. This person would probably go on YouTube, probably watch 5 different videos from 3 different people on how to start going to the gym consistently. And pretty much all of them are going to just say, like, push through it, like do it, and you'll build the mental strength and the mental fortitude to be able to do it the next time. I would prefer to bypass all of that struggle and simply practice meditation to create the mental fortitude and strength. Because through meditation, you strengthen the mind in the same way, in the sense that you can now endure difficult things. Because that's all you're doing with that, is building the discipline to endure difficult things. And so through building presence, all of that bullshit kind of just goes away. Because not only is your mind already stronger, but at the same time, your mind also isn't going to be struggling with the bullshit thoughts of, I don't want to go to the gym today. That's too hard. Because you're not going to be having these thoughts because you've practiced meditation. And if you do, and if something comes up, and like for me, I don't even have thoughts of resistance anymore, but resistance still comes up. It's just energetic for me. So when resistance comes up, because I practice meditation, I can become present and tune into it, and then dissolve it, and then I can keep moving, and I can keep going. And typically this energy that was my resistance is now the energy that's fueling my workout. And that's huge. Just like to be able to turn what was your struggle into your strength, what the energy stopping you into the energy fueling you and pushing you forward, that's huge, right? Like that is why most people really struggle with self-improvement, is because it doesn't feel natural, since they aren't present enough to dissolve the parts that aren't aligned and create the parts that are, and form the parts that are from the leftover energy. For most people, they struggle because they're taking years to do this, because they're doing this process through just like pushing through the hard part, pushing through the work, and then they get the result after a couple of years, because now they've finally broken down the old self and created the new self, because they've spent enough times in presence, in doing the thing even though they didn't feel like it. And doing the thing even though they didn't feel like it basically forces the body to either dissolve it, become present with it and dissolve it, or it becomes suppressed. And if it's suppressed, it will cause you to struggle for longer. And if you, like some people may work through this resistance throughout their workout, so basically just doing a slower version of what I said, and where they're transmuting the energy into fuel, but through the workout and not beforehand. So they're still transmuting this energy, but it's taking them longer because they aren't consciously doing it. Whereas someone who is conscious and fully present can simply take 5 minutes and dissolve the energy up front, use it right away. But that's just one piece. That's just one point. I also still believe that meditation is a fundamental practice for every endeavor, not just, for example, fitness, not just business, not just mindset and mental health, not just spirituality. I actually think it is a fundamental practice for all of them, simply because they are all one. All we are seeking in this life is growth. Everybody is seeking to grow in whatever way they perceive fit. And I like to maximize growth. So that means I want to be growing spiritually, I want to be growing mentally, I want to be growing financially, and I want to be growing physically, right? I want to be doing all four. And meditation is one of those practices that makes all of them easier, simply because I'm actually here with myself. I'm actually present. I'm actually in the moment. I'm in what's happening now, and I'm not thinking about what might happen in the future and perceiving what might happen down the line based on what did happen in the past, right? I'm just here. And when I'm here and I want to create a business, in the here and now, there is going to be an opportunity. In the here and now, there is going to be something that will bring me closer to where I want to go. But only in the here and now. It is not going to be, you are not going to find it in the future. You are not going to find it in the past. So you're not going to find it in thought. You're going to find it here and now. I believe that's all I got for you. This was a longer video than what I was expecting. But yeah, I hope you gathered something. That was it from me though. So peace.